Okay, so I have turned on the recorder. Today is Tuesday, September 28th at 12 p.m. This is Daniel Melin interviewing Dr. Adil for the October issue of the Collage newsletter. Dr. Adil, could you just confirm that you have agreed to be recorded?
Yes, I have agreed. Yeah.
Awesome, thank you. All right, so if we want to get started here, I was hoping that we could take us back a few years. If you could talk about, I know you attended the University of Peshawar and the University of Hawaii. Could you talk about your own college experience?
Yes, at University of Peshawar, I went to this historic place. It's called Islamic College Peshawar. It was actually started in 1913, and it was built with self-help contributions made by the community leaders of the time, and my own the chief of our own tribe, Khan Muhammad Zaman Khan, uh, contributed for the construction of the college, 100,000 rupees at the time, which is a huge sum. And the building is of historical significance, and so are its contribution, cultural and educational contributions. So it was a great thing for me to be able to, after my high school in my native region, Mansehra, Gandhian, it was great for me to be able to go over to Islamic College Peshawar, that historic institution, and there I had a great time. I studied some science, I studied some philosophies, a lot of literature, and I also participated in student activities. I was the elected president of the Khyber Union. It's one of the most famous students unions in the country. College was great. Subsequently, I moved on to Department of Philosophy on the same campus, and mm, this itself was a a transforming experience for me, because my whole entire outlook on life started changing as I studied more and more philosophy. So ever since, and I was always interested in, ever since my school days, I was interested in poetry. So I used to read a lot of poetry, and of course, mm, prose as well, novels, other stuff, uh, Urdu. Uh, and I got interested in Persian poetry as well. I personally feel that it is some of the best poetry ever, uh, incomparably the best, I guess. Uh, and so, yeah, uh, s- we I remember on during those days at University of Peshawar. By the way, Islamic College Peshawar is a constituent college. It was a constituent college of Peshawar University. Now it has become a university on its own. But in those days, it was a constituent college. And when I finished my bachelor's degree, moved on for a master's to philosophy department. And we had a literary circle of young writers who were uh, you know, uh, patronized and guided by some of the most famous literary figures in contemporary Urdu poetry, particularly Ahmed Faraz and Mohsen Ehsan. They are considered to, they are just legends, and they are wherever, Urdu is spoken, their poetry is read and enjoyed by people, and it has been put to music as well. So they are legendary figures in Urdu literature. They were my teachers. So we had a good time. Yeah, college was great.
Awesome, I'm glad to hear it. It sounds like you experienced a lot that kind of formed, your kind of path from that. Um, I was wondering, did you always have an interest in teaching, or is that something that kind of came as a result of your college studies?
Well, after I came into philosophy, I just decided that I'm not going to go into any other area except pursuing philosophy and philosophical research and uh, excuse me.
Um,
Yeah, so this was uh, my interest in literature and philosophy. I thought that this is the best profession. I can always read. I can always share my feelings and thoughts and research with my students and colleagues, and that's it. So yeah, it came rather natural to me. Although there was a possibility for me to join civil services of Pakistan, some of my contemporaries did, but I thought it's best for me to teach.
right, gotcha. So as I understand it, one of your major fields of study in philosophy is the philosophy of language. Um, I'm not a philosophy major, so I haven't taken that many philosophy courses except for like an intro course. I was wondering, what is an important concept in that field that can be understandable to everyone, even non-philosophy majors?
Well, philosophy of language, it started with a German mathematician and philosopher Gottlob Frege at the turn of 20th century, and then it was continued by Bertrand Russell and the great Austrian philosopher Wittgenstein. But the key thing here is that you should, if you want to understand a theory or a system of concepts, then the best way to do so is to analyze the language in which that theory has been formulated, or the language in which that system of concepts has been expressed. Our best handle on concepts and theories is obviously in and through language. And if we understand the language of the theories, or the language in which various concepts have been expressed, or language in which a certain scientific law has been formulated. If we analyze that language and understand its logical form and its linguistic meanings, its semantics properly, then we will get a handle on the problem which that scientific law or that philosophical theory or that system of concepts is trying to address and solve. So that's the approach. That you look at the logic of language, try to understand it, and then move on. Theories don't interpret themselves. We need a mind to interpret them, and obviously theories are formulated in language. So linguistic analysis is the key in philosophy of language. Slowly, philosophers moved to develop systematic theories of meaning. How is it that language comes to mean? And how is it that with a limited vocabulary, we are able to, formulate an infinity of sentences, potential infinity? And how do we master a language? And then this, of course, spilled over into linguistics as well. Chomsky, whom I invited to Kutztown University as well in 2011, uh, he also is one of the founding fathers of contemporary linguistics, and very much an analytical philosopher as far as language is concerned. So philosophy of language is a logico-analytical approach to language, literary language, aesthetic language, uh, language of science, language of ordinary life, all forms of language. Try to analyze its logical form and it's try to grasp its semantics, try to get a handle on its pragmatics, its applications, and that's considered to be a gateway towards understanding the problems which are being formulated or being addressed by a given science or by an art.
Awesome. Well, that sounds really interesting. I haven't explored enough philosophy of my own, so this whole thing is making me more interested in it.
You will love it, Daniel. You know, just try studying maybe Wittgenstein's Tractatus. It's very difficult, but it's written very artistically. Very small book. So have a look at it sometime, and if you have any questions, then come over.
Oh, of course. Thank you. So I wanted to touch back on, you talked about poetry, and that seems to have had a huge impact on your life and your career goals. Do you think that you would have studied philosophy if you hadn't discovered that love of poetry?
Well, it's a related thing for me. I really do not draw a huge distinction between the two. You know, someone said, I think it's a contemporary Muslim philosopher who said that you know poetry is the real magic of Eastern mind. And while I don't draw sharp distinctions between East and West, but it appears to me that a lot of philosophy in the eastern parts of the world is expressed poetically. So philosophy is very close to poetry in Pakistani culture, in Indian culture, and in Chinese culture. I see that, you know, the best of the philosophers in the Western tradition, Plato, his dialogues are written in a language which is really poetical. And I read somewhere, you know, one of the experts on Plato said that nobody ever was able to exploit the literary riches of Greek language as effectively as did Plato. And some other philosophers like German philosopher Nietzsche, he also wrote very poetically. So, I mean, even philosophical prose written by these great figures is poetical. Poetry is very closely related with philosophy, and that was my feeling right from the, you know, from the days when I started exploring, you know, thoughts as well as poetry in my younger days. And yes, poetry was my first, you know, as a very young kid, I started reading poetry, but then it led me into reading philosophical thoughts as well. And I found them ever since closely connected with each other.
That's awesome. That reminds me of the article you sent me from the American Philosophical Association newsletter. It was an amazing article. I loved reading it. It was so beautiful, and
Thank you.
I loved it. Yeah. In that article, I pulled a quote from it. You said, "The glimpses that one gets in poetic experience point towards another kind of opening on reality and hence provide another set of hints for the pluralistic nature of our takes on things." So I thought that was really interesting. And I wanted to ask you, how important is it for those that are studying philosophy to experience things like poetry and art and music?
Absolutely very important. I think, in fact, it is important for even those who are studying, you know, hard sciences. Einstein, you know, some of his remarks are extremely poetical when he talks about the universe and, you know, this the great minds, great scientists, you know, like a child picking pebbles on the shores of a huge ocean. Science is just a few pebbles that we have been able to pick. I mean, these images that you find, these are actually flashes of genius, flashes of a genius who is so deeply involved with nature, with the universe. And so science or philosophy, they cannot be at the deepest level separated from our deepest urges to get in contact with reality. And the thing is that you come at it from different angles, from a philosophical angle, from scientific angle, from literary angle, and this gives you I think a kind of a pluralistic, a kind of a diverse set of insights into the nature of our existence in this universe, in this you know awesome awesomely beautiful universe. Uh, so you get these diverse glimpses, and I think human experience in the world through history has been diverse as well. Cultural diversity, linguistic diversity is our real strength, and hence coming at our own experiences in the world, in history, in society, in the universe, from all these different angles, literary, philosophical, as well as scientific, is I think something matchless, and I recommend it not just for philosophy students, but for all students. If you need to, if you want to be a wholesome human being, and the objective of a university is to create a wholesome human being, and if you want to do that, we need to have some kind of a integration of all these outlooks on nature, reality, life, society, history, all the outlooks, particularly the three that I have been mentioning: literary, philosophical, and scientific. Of course, that we should not preclude the spiritual side as well, exclude the spiritual dimension either. Uh, Spirituality has been a part of literary, philosophical, religious, and scientific traditions, and that also gives us uh, mm, a holistic understanding of what's going on. I mean, the universe, I don't consider the universe to be just a bag full of atoms. I think it has some meaning and some spirituality to it. And that also comes through in our efforts to get at reality through literature, poetry, and spirituality, higher religion.
Right. Yeah, no, I would have to agree with you on that. That's why I like hearing about other people's majors and the things that they're studying, because it's kind of like we're all just taking our own sort of, I guess, view or path to kind of study the same thing and look at the world in our own different lenses. I just think that's a really awesome way to look at the world. So
Thank you.
yeah, yeah. Kind of along that same note, I feel that empathy is important when studying really anything. But I was wondering if you could talk about how it's important in studying philosophy, and if there's value in opposing philosophical viewpoints, in your opinion.
Yes, I mean, empathy is one of the key things in human understanding. There's a low level of knowledge where you understand different propositions. I mean, knowledge is normally defined by philosophers as justified true belief. So you believe in a certain idea, and then you it is a true idea, and you have justification or proof for it. So that elevates your belief to the level of knowledge. But knowledge is, I mean, one thing, deeper holistic understanding of a subject, of a human being, of music, of literature, of philosophy is quite another. And it's not just understanding of a single proposition or proof of a single proposition. It is grasping, interrelations between a whole lot of propositions and concepts. So it's something holistic, and this requires empathy. You need to be in this empathetic relationship with your subject, with whatever you are trying to understand, whether it's philosophy, literature, universe, sciences, other human beings, music, other ethnic groups, other the sexual groups. Empathy is key for understanding. And so uh, I think it needs to be emphasized a whole lot. I mean, it's not something that you can teach as a science, but it is something that can be inculcated in us through our the human and human relationships with each other, and also through our exposure uh, you know great exemplars of empathetic personalities, as well as through our exposure to literature and poetry, and through developing a sensitivity for example, the delicate balances that we find in nature. Nature is not only exceptionally beautiful, but it's delicately balanced everywhere. And that balance, you need to have a sensitivity for that, and to comprehend it. An empathetic attitude towards nature is also a prerequisite. So it needs to be inculcated. I think it's an awfully important thing. And even when it comes to understanding, there is a difference between causal understanding that we get through sciences, and empathetic understanding that we can get through diving into another person's personality and psyche, or another cultures, or other groups, psyche and experiences. So it's not just causal. It is different. And once you dive into another person's being, another group's being, into another or different philosophy, then you kind of see directly intuit its meaning and significance for the other person, or for the other group, or whatever you are trying to understand. So empathy plays a role. Empathy is a different level. Empathetic understanding is a different kind of understanding. It cannot be reduced to causal understanding, which is the kind of explanations that we get from hard sciences of different events in the universe.
Yeah, I would definitely say you kind of elaborated on what I was feeling on that subject. And I think that goes along with, experiencing art and everything. And I liked what you said about being a holistic human being through empathy. So yeah, I just wanted to touch on this concept that I found. So you published a book in 2010 about a concept called underdeterminism, which I'm not very familiar with. And I was wondering if you could kind of explain it a little bit in basic terms, and kind of like what direction you take it in your book.
Yes, actually, this is one of the issues, one of the problems in epistemology of science. We have We collect evidence, experimental evidence, we get, observational evidence. And on the basis of that evidence, we build initial hypotheses, and ultimately, if they get, further supported, they acquire the status of theories. And evidence, experimental evidence, data is what is at the foundation of our hypotheses and theories or the scientific laws. It is supported by evidence. These are supported by evidence. Now, the epistemological linkage or the relationship between the data or evidence and the theory. There is the underdetermination is an issue related to that relationship. What happens is that when all the data is collected, we can build opposing, logically different hypotheses on the basis of the same data. And that means that experimental and observational data does not uniquely determine the theory or the hypothesis that a scientist chooses in order to in order for further promotion or further research. And some philosophers like Quine, one of the leading logicians and philosophers of 20th century in United States, they argued that actually on the basis of the same data, we can come up with conflicting theories and hypotheses such that they are empirically equivalent. That is, the same data supports them, but logically incompatible with each other. That is to say, they have opposing conclusions about certain matters. One might say that light is a wave, the other might say that light is particle. And the data is unable to differentiate between the two. Now, particles are discrete, wave is continuous. So if a theory says that light consists of photons, then it is taking a position which is logically opposed to the other theory, which might claim that light rays are continuous, they are waves. So the data sometimes underdetermines the theory. That is what we mean by underdetermination. And so that's an issue that's an ongoing issue. There's a big debate in philosophy of science and in epistemology of science. Epistemology is theory of knowledge about science. So philosophers, some say that underdetermination is a problem, others say no, it's not. But if science is rooted in experimental data, if science is empirical, and experimental data, observational data cannot uniquely determine the theory, and we can have opposing theories on the basis of the same data, that means that experimentalist or empirical approach to analysis of science needs to be reviewed, needs to be supplemented with further ideas, because it's not all totally empirical and experimental. Other factors might play a role. And famous philosophers like Thomas Kuhn, etc., they did emphasize the fact that other sociological factors play a huge role in the selection of the theories that scientists make. It's not just the experimental data. So underdetermination of theory by data is that issue. And I published this book. It's based on, a lot of it is based on my PhD research that I did under Irving M. Coppy at University of Hawaii, who was a student of the great British philosopher Bertrand Russell. This book is based on that mostly on that research, although I revised it. And it tries to address the issue of underdetermination for all theories, not only in science, but also theories of meaning in language. And my argument is that ultimately underdetermination is 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 a part of our a process of inquiry into various fields. It's a part of our process of construction of theories in various fields, and it actually and I think that it's ultimately something which probably is a good thing, because diversity, it leads to diverse theories and hypotheses, uh, uh, and on the basis of this diversity in in sciences, we can then analogously conclude that there should be and can be diversity in cultures and religions and civilizations and literatures. So I kind of like it insofar as it provides justification for a pluralistic outlook on human history and on human thought and human cultures and religions and civilizations.
Right. You brought it up at the end. I was gonna ask you about that. It kind of brings us back to that whole empathy concept and the diversity of thought. But yeah, that makes a lot more sense. Hearing you
Thank you.
talk about it. So yeah. So I won't take up too much more of your time. I just had kind of like a final question. So obviously you've been teaching for a long time. Do you have any other like aspirations beyond teaching and writing? Do you have kind of like a next step or something that you're working on or working towards currently?
Well, at my age, the next step always is that, I should be able to produce another nice poetic anthology or a nice book on philosophy. And if it gets recognition and it's reviewed and it makes an impact, that's the aspiration that I have. Other than that, this I'm kind of uh, contented.
Yeah.
And it's a great thing for me to be able to walk into the classes and share my feelings, ideas, thoughts with students on a regular basis. They are my primary audience. They are my lifeline. So I mean, because I mean, you think, you write, you research, you formulate poems, but you need audience for that. And my primary audience is my student. And so it has been, wherever I have taught, it has been great to be able to interact with my students. KU experience since 2006 has been wonderful. Generations of students pass through our classes, and um, it's a great thing for us, for me as a teacher, to sort of draw upon their energy. uh, they have so much energy, so much ambition, and that energy is contagious and inspires me. So that's something that I hope I can continue. And yeah, my next research in poetry, I hope, uh, is not only useful for an audience in general, but for particularly my first audience, that is my students.
Right. That's that's amazing. And I can, you know, you kind of lit up when you were talking about your students. It's the passion is definitely there. And I'm happy that Kutztown has professors like you that are so engaged and excited to teach. And that's awesome. I love hearing about it.
Thank you, Daniela. Thank you. Thanks you for being a part of our community. It's students like you who keep us going. You are our inspiration.
Well, thank you so much.
You are welcome.
Yeah, thank you for making some time to talk to me. And I feel much more, I guess, enlightened after speaking with you. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for interviewing me, and I wish you all the best with your career, your educational life, and and your future, and of course your writing in Collage and everywhere else.
Awesome. Thank you. I'll be in touch about the article. I'll send it to
Okay.
you then.
Okay.
All
All
right.
right. Okay. Bye bye, Daniel.
Bye. Thank you.